Hi, I'm Jane. I've been administering the garden actually probably for about 15 years. We've had the garden for about 17 years, and the reason I took that on was frankly there wasn't that many Chinese speakers at the time, and our landlord was, he came from Pat Cock, and he was one of the indigenous villagers of Pat Cock, and obviously his English wasn't that great, so I spent time just liaising with him, collecting dues from the gardeners and making sure that the money went into his account at the right time.
Hello, I'm Chris. Yeah, we've been in the community garden now since it started 18 years ago, and it's been a fantastic place, still is, for friendships and get-togethers and that.
Hi, I'm Wei. I joined the garden back in June 2021. When I first started, I remember that I asked Dennis and Jeff whether my vegetables and fruits would do well if I could only come here once a week because I have job outside. They said no.
My name is Eva. I'm originally from Poland. I have been living in Hong Kong for over 30 years.
Hi, I'm Shelley Bowman, and I've lived on Lama for 29 years, and I've only been in the garden for the last, I think, 15 months.
Okay, good morning. Hi, my name is Leslie, and I'm here at the Tai Peng Community Garden, and I've been a gardener here for about the last 8 years, I believe.
Yes, so I'm Lorraine. I was a new gardener in the previous video, but now I have been here for a while, probably about 6 or 7 years.
I'm Jeff. I've been on this video before, and I'm still here. I don't know when the last time was, 3 years, 4 years, something like that. But I'm still going, and I'm still maybe foolishly engaged in long-term projects.
What's changed? Well, we certainly have some new members since the last 4 years. I can't remember exactly who's joined in the last 4 years, but we do have a number of new members. And I think how that's changed things. Some people are very active in the garden. They're very active with their own plots, growing their own vegetables, growing their own stuff, and then also active in other parts of the garden as well, helping out with the flowers and that. And I think we've kind of got into a routine where that's fine. Some people are very active, some people are not so active. I'm not so active. But it seems to work quite well, people doing what they want. I think one of the changes over the last number of years has been the fact that we've now got a WhatsApp chat group. That's very active, and people share updates on the garden, they share ideas, they share recipes, their thoughts about things, and I think this has been a really nice way to keep us connected.
What else? Tai Peng Man has worked and not worked since I've been here. My husband had bees here, and he had them here for about a year, and then unfortunately the bees just swarmed one day and he couldn't catch them again, so he took away the box. And we've had a lot more composting since I've been here. We've acquired some different boxes of composting, and some people have made, I think Andrew and Lorraine have made a little barbecue pit since I've been here, so that's changed. And I don't do any meditation here, but I've seen other gardeners do meditation. And Chris has built a shed, so we can now store our tools. That's also new.
I don't do much work here now. I don't have a plot, but I do help with the maintenance and the repairing of fences and electricity and pumps and things. So the last big project, there was a tool shed I made that people wanted, so I made a tool shed out of paper mache basically, and that was an interesting project. Everyone got stuck into that and started helping with that, and that was good. But other than that, I just come and enjoy the butterflies these days.
So the herb garden, I was really excited about that. That's when we started reclaiming from the jungle that slope there. And I remember, introducing the different herbs that were growing there, and it looked good. Coming back after the summer, everything almost had died, because in this garden, when the summer comes, the weed take over. So there is no point fighting against nature, really. If something is taking over, it means it likes it there. So the question arises, how can we use that plant efficiently in the garden instead of, breaking your back at trying to make something survive that doesn't really belong here?
People have experimented with new things, with organic gardening, with composting, with different sort of approaches. I think one of the members doesn't like digging, so puts layer upon layer and hopes that the worms will turn everything over. So people try new things and see how it goes.
It doesn't matter how long you've been gardening, actually. It doesn't make you an expert, frankly. You can grow the same things year by year and you'll suddenly see something completely different.
So some things disappear, and that's why I suggested to you talking about impermanence, because I think this garden teaches me, the main thing it teaches me is that nothing is fixed, that you have a project, you want to do that, but you have to change your mind and do something else because it doesn't work.
Sometimes things go really well, unexpectedly, and sometimes they don't sprout at all. So I think just having detachment of the outcome. I planted a lot of things that didn't grow, but then I planted a lot of things that grew really well. I use a lot of fertilizer, like peanut meal, bone meal. There's a kind of lime thing that we use to make the tomatoes and the cucumbers sweeter.
My first trials were successful only in as much as transplanting seedlings. So I would plant them at home in troughs, and then I would place them on my plot and they would grow quite happily. I was not successful growing things from seed. So this year I tried several different things where I actually bought extra soil. I set up what some people refer to as a Yeti enclosure to stop birds from picking at the seedlings, and I gave it loads of mulch and also compost in order to help it. And I have been very successful in growing. I'm currently harvesting carrots, beetroot, as well as radishes earlier on.
During the growing season, so my soil has been enriched in the summer from not being really tampered with at all, with the nitrogen fixing plants. And I really also am careful not to dig or to dig too deep, and I use a lot of the rooting system that the weeds might have left to keep the soil rich with microorganisms and not tamper with the soil. And then I feed it with my compost, and sometimes I also add bone meal and peanut meal, a little mixture of that, which I buy at the flower market. And after that I mulch, and the more I mulch, the better my soil is. Every year my soil is richer, darker, and more crumbly, and I really see a difference. And I think, I can see this working on the vegetables. I have a tiny plot, but I really have bumper crops of 1 or 2 vegetables regularly throughout the growing season.
basically what I do here is I enjoy the garden for the sanctuary it is, and for the social aspect of it, which is we have some potlucks and the camaraderie that we do share vegetables, and we share seeds, and we share some advice, because sometimes I'm not always sure what I'm growing, if it's a weed or a vegetable, and someone is often here to help me out.
It's also really nice to bump into fellow gardeners. People are very happy to share their experiences and share their produce, and also the gatherings which we have here are a great occasion to mingle and socialize, and that also has a very beneficial impact on one's well-being.
I think the community garden, what's really quite special about it is it's actually, you know, the community, the social aspect that we've managed to build over the years. We've had gardeners come and go, you know, we've gotten to know new people. Hopefully we've also imparted some knowledge to them as they have imparted to us as well.
I think I said before though, but it's not just a matter of putting things in the ground and getting vegetables. We can go and buy vegetables cheap enough in the village. It's not for that. It's a sense of the community, and it's a purpose for people, and everyone likes it, and it's a good feeling, and I'm sitting here now with butterflies flying around my head, so how can that be wrong? You know, it's a lovely feeling.
The people in the garden are lovely. They're amazing. They were so welcoming from the beginning, and you know, there's the potlucks, whether it's in someone's house or in the garden. It's just lovely, you know. All of the people here have been so supportive and nice, and it's lovely to get together in a social context and share food.
People come together, they meet, they talk, they share ideas, you know, share plants, and it's become, yeah, a really nice place to come and talk to people.
I would come here, have breakfast, have a coffee, just enjoy the very pleasant time from between October and April. It's nice. The rest of the year, not so nice.
I come here sometimes just because I miss the plants here, right? And I miss the people here, any people.
People who also like the garden, you know, are people who draw with sketch, and I am also part of a community of sketchers, and they like also coming to the garden to sketch and be surrounded by this beauty and this calmness, because so we had a gathering not long ago, last week I think, because I said you have to come, it's Alice in Wonderland, you really have to see it. And they came, and what they talked about the colors, but what they talked about was the silence. Being surrounded by birds and insect noises, and just sketching is a peaceful activity. You're just, you know, observing very closely, and then you're surrounded by this, and it's really therapeutic, but more than that, it's a very strong connection to nature.
My friends, they are just curious about my life here, yeah, because I might be the only one living on Lama. Among my group, yeah, they come here just for curiosity, but I think every time they visit here, yeah, they show me their photos taken, and they talked about the fact that they might be influenced by the way our garden works.
One of the other things that I think is really nice in our garden is that we have a number of people who are not necessarily members, but they are, we call them friends of the garden. And so they come for our potlucks, they join some of the other social things we have, they'll come and just look around the garden. And often these people have helped out with weeding when people go away, weeding or watering people's plots. And so we've got sort of an expanded group who aren't necessarily gardening, but yeah, we call them friends of the garden, and even people who were members and maybe not members anymore, but they're still very connected to the garden and still very much a part of it.
tomatoes, carrots, radishes, beetroot, basil, lettuces, fennel.
This year I've been sort of like starting my seeds a little bit early. You know, I've been putting down things like tomatoes and, you know, fennel, turnips, basically things that either taste really good when it's homegrown or slightly harder to get hold of here in Hong Kong.
I've been growing mostly things that I will eat, such as carrots. I'm successful with carrots, some potatoes, definitely tomatoes, sometimes basil, and some other herbs like maybe coriander and mint. And often we share some seeds with each other, so sometimes I try to grow other things, but I'm definitely successful with mostly the root vegetables.
Tomatoes. I have 9 tomato plants and they've gone crazy, so I have a lot of tomatoes, lots of rocket, lettuce, lemongrass. The aubergine and the peppers didn't do well. They just didn't take off. But the carrots have done really well. I used tons of chrysanthemum leaves, choy sum. I'm on my 2nd round of radishes. It's so plentiful if you prepare the soil well.
I have a pineapple, very small but very sweet and fresh, and only 1 or 2 strawberries. It tastes very good. I even share them with the people here. Yeah, so I can only have half maybe. And some vegetables, okras and cucumber, right? But the leafy vegetables don't grow well.
My other project is these desert ridges where I'm importing sand and making it as much like desert conditions as possible, although the climate will never be like the desert. And I'm growing cacti and pachypodium and adenium in the desert ridges.
Just a message from Jane, Dennis, just this minute, which says, I got a message from Mr. Chow's, our landlord's daughter, through his WhatsApp yesterday. Apparently Mr. Chow passed away last month. It's so sad, as he was reasonable and nice and seemed to appreciate what we were doing to prettify the neighborhood. Anyway, his daughter has requested to meet and chat about the garden next month. I don't know what that means, but hopefully things won't change for us. We'll keep you all posted.
I hope to continue to, I think that with the future for the garden, I know that it's maybe, we're on borrowed time in terms of this belongs to another family. However, I do hope to stay here myself and continue to garden. Even though I only come up maybe once a week, I'm still getting a lot of food and a lot of pleasure out of it, and I enjoy the camaraderie.
So our landlord that we've had for over a decade, you know, passed away earlier this year. And it was actually quite a shock because I had done the usual transfer, you know, that I do like every year at the right time. I collect all the dues and I transfer it directly into his account, and then I send him a WhatsApp. But Mr. Chow didn't get back to me, and it was surprising. But frankly, I just thought maybe he's just too busy and he hasn't had time. And it wasn't until maybe even a couple of months afterwards that we found out that he had actually passed away, and his daughter was the one who had checked the WhatsApp message and realised that I had sent these messages over, and she arranged for me to actually meet someone else who is the landlord, the new landlord, who turned out actually to have been the existing landlord all along, and Mr. Chow from Bangkok was almost like a caretaker for it. So, you know, I actually met with Mr. Leo, who is the new landlord. He was happy for us to carry on renting it. We're just really glad that you know, the uncertainty has been removed and we're going to carry on gardening.
I'm still maybe foolishly engaged in long-term projects like breeding darker and darker hippeastrum. If you want a viable seed, you need a male and female parent, and the male parts you will find on the stamens. These are the stamens with the ends have the pollen, so you get the pollen from one flower and then you look for another flower and you put the pollen onto the stigma. The stigma is the female part of the flower and the pollen contains the male part. So the pollen should grow down into this part of the flower, the ovary, and seeds develop if everything goes well. And you can see that I've pollinated this plant about 3 or 4 weeks ago, and it's looking quite healthy. The seed pods have sold and I'm just waiting for them to dry. Now this one is a seed pod which has been successfully pollinated. It's grown and it's dried and it's split, and now you can see all the seeds coming out. The seeds are kind of very light and thin and papery, and the best way to germinate them is to float them on water. So I have a bit of water here and just float the seeds on the water like that. There you are. So those are the seeds on the surface of the water. In about a week they should grow a small white root downwards into the water, and in another week a small green blade shoot will grow up from there, and then they're ready for planting. So that is how we normally germinate them. The results so far have been fairly encouraging. The trouble is you have to wait 4 years to see the flowers. So if you come back in 2029, I'll show you the results of this one.
The fact that it brings people together and builds relationships among people in the community, I think is an even greater benefit of a community garden. And if you ask me, I wish there should be community gardens all over Hong Kong. We should have them in every community.